Okay, people, so what is it today? June 13th? Isn't there something around June 13th? Oh. Have to look it up. Anyway, I just got the coroner's report. I'm having problems with my computer. You know how they do these regular updates? Window updates. Well, seems to me it's corrupted my computer here. It's been configuring for the last who knows how long. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. It's just going around and around and around. Try to restart the computer and it's still stuck on stupid. So anyway, you can see it. What I'm going to do, people, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay. See where it came from. Right up in there. They didn't send me what I wanted in terms of the amount of fentanyl that it was mixed in with these other drugs that she supposedly was supposed to be doing at 8 o'clock in the morning. They don't listen to you, right? I'm going to read this first. Investigative findings. This is what the coroner did. Because they passed the buck over to the cops. But the cops don't care, people, because there's huge kickbacks around fentanyl deaths. Whether the people are being removed from the welfare rolls or whether their organs are being harvested illegally under the guise of, well, guess what we can do now? We can harvest a lot of these organs as they're coming in under fentanyl death mixed in with cocaine and whatever drugs that they were doing. And we can donate some of those bodies to the organ donation center, and then we can, glamorize it and make it sound like something good is coming out of a bad thing. But they're not telling you that organs are being harvested illegally. And that it's our first responders that are transporting the bodies for that purpose. As the cops are standing by watching. And they know what's going on because they're a part of it, people. Everybody's getting something out of it, except for the families that are being targeted. Anyway, on April 11, 2018, I think my computer is hooped because nothing's moving here. On April 11, 2018, at 9:56 hours, ShaMay Geraldine Chorney was found unresponsive on the couch at home by her partner. First of all, he was not her partner. He was a ex-boyfriend that wormed his way in because his mother's house got robbed, and whoever robbed him was stalking him because they started to stalk him and circle my yard in that 2 to 3 week period as he was coming around here. Talking about he wanted to co-parent, as ShaMay had already moved on with her life and hooked up with her ex-old boyfriend that she was with for 5 years because she didn't want to be with her more recent ex-boyfriend who threatened to burn down the house and threatened to kill ShaMay on multiple occasions. And ShaMay took my advice and tried to break away, but because she had a baby on my advice and pleadings to keep the baby, to not worry, the person who injured her took advantage of that and threw around co-parenting as the mother to that person started going on as Tisha was going in for prenatal care, how she wanted to see the baby. as the sister is lurking around getting pissed off because ShaMay was having an affair with the ex-boyfriend she had for 5 years, named Freddie. Because she didn't have a partner in Julian. Julian was not her partner. So right there, within the first fucking sentence, the coroner is ignoring that fact. That man called at 6 o'clock in the morning. My daughter was dead by 10. He came by at 6:30 because I heard ShaMay in Tisha's room singing to the baby. Tisha got home at 7, found ShaMay in her bedroom, in Tisha's bedroom. Well, that man had slithered himself into ShaMay's room, but ShaMay didn't want to be in there with him, so she went to her sister's room. And then they talked for an hour. And then because ShaMay hadn't been feeling well for a couple of days, and she was up all night because she looked after Amari because of his first cold, and he couldn't really breathe because his nose was so stuffy and he didn't know how to freaking handle it. So finally at 8 o'clock, after talking with her sister for an hour, she went into the living room and she did a Snapchat with a black tank top on. But when we found her at 10 o'clock, she had a white one on. So somebody changed it. As they moved her dead body, she died sitting up. There were pee stains and shit stains where she died. The man who moved her admitted to moving her. But he moved her at 10 after 9. And then he left her laying down for almost 50 minutes. And because he knew that she had been dead for an hour, he knew he had to call Wolf. So he walked. He didn't run. He didn't holler. He didn't scream. He just walked down the hall, looked in Tisha's room, looked her straight in the eye, and said, "Oh, ShaMay's not responding." Then stood back and watched the carnage happen. And then when the cops showed up with the freaking paramedics, that's when he started going, oh, ShaMay, 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 as a distraction. As the paramedics were pretending to jumpstart a dead body's heart, but my daughter had already been dead for an hour, people. Emergency services were contacted. Yeah, Tisha, when she got to her sister, tried to smack her awake, realized she wasn't waking up, called 911, telling that person to come upstairs and get me. And even then, when he came upstairs, all he did was, come downstairs. Judy, come downstairs, quick. He didn't tell me why, because he wanted to see what my face looked like, because he used to threaten me that he would burn down my fucking house and shoot my kids. So he wanted to see how I would look when I realized there was something wrong with my daughter. As he stood back and he watched. And he didn't start, oh, yeah, I'm a drama king, until the cops fucking showed up. So I paid more attention to his funky ass than I would have as to what they were doing with my daughter as they practically broke her fucking ribcage. Pound, on her fucking chest for 20 fucking minutes, people. 20 fucking minutes. And then they just made it look like they got her fucking heart started and carried her out, 6 men, 3 on each fucking side in a fucking carry-out hammock. So by that time, 10:30, she was dead for an hour and a half. If you put oxygen into a body that is already dead, you speed up the free radicals and you make the decomposition excel. It goes faster. So I highly doubt her heart was started because their idea was to harvest her organs. That's why they embalmed her, people. I have been supplying pictures to prove it. I just haven't gotten into the fucking details yet around that proof. Dead bodies turn black. Dead bodies smell. The only way you can stop a dead body from smelling and turning black is by embalming it. To resuscitate her efforts, in addition to naloxone being administered for a suspected illicit drug overdose. So they suspected it. Didn't say anything, no. Returned spontaneous circulation. First of all, the paramedic told me it was not the naloxone. It was not the Narcan that supposedly got her heart started, people. It was something else. They gave her 4 Narcans that didn't work, and then they gave her something else that supposedly started her heart. But I believe that her heart was not started because their mission was to harvest her organs. ShaMay was a 22-year-old, healthy, just had a baby 7 months ago, no herpes, no intravenous drug use, no addictions where it put her out in a fucking zombie land. None of that crap, people. She was an intelligent young woman that had her whole life ahead of her, that was trying to break away from an abusive man. But she was held emotionally hostage to co-parenting because I made the mistake by asking her to keep a baby, making her think that she could raise a baby without having to give her life over to a man who only wanted to abuse her. So that sentence number 2 is wrong, just like sentence number 1 is wrong. Miss Chorney was transported to hospital where medical examinations revealed cerebral edema. I'd have to look it up. I'm not a doctor. So my computer here has conveniently been corrupted by configuring Windows updates. So I don't know how I'm going to upload this video. Miss Chorney was subsequently transferred to the ICU where they got her as MS, a Ms. as in married. She wasn't married. She wasn't living common law. She was a Miss. Do you see how they're falsifying their records? Do you see how they rewrite the story? Transferred to the ICU where her condition continued to deteriorate. And do you know what's sick? That man is still lurking, people. Looking at my younger daughter out through the fucking window from his mother's house as my daughter is going to pick up Amari. After all this fucking time, he just looking out the fucking window. Doesn't have the balls to come up and say anything to this family. Just hiding out in the fucking shadows. But if you notice, he didn't show up to fucking court. He didn't show up for the fucking trial. And quite possibly one of those potential witnesses just recently died. Just another fucking notch on the belt. Right? 3 people in the last 2 years have died around this guy, and there's another one out there that I haven't gotten the name on yet, but I will. Trust me, people, I'll get the fucking name. Miss Chorney did not regain consciousness at any time and was pronounced deceased. But you go in her medical files and it says, so she was shivering. And she moved her head. And she moved her head. And she was shivering. ShaMay didn't gain consciousness, but she was shivering. And she moved her head. Yeah, okay, my ass. And and was pronounced deceased at 1500 hours on April 16, 2018 by Dr. Ghoul, all dressed in black. A sibling with his freaking, what do you call those things? Lucy's. You know, like a Dracula with the Lucy's, right? The female vampires with his female fucking vampires. A sibling reported to have spoken to Miss Chorney. So in other words, she's talking about Tisha. Around 700 hours on April 11th. No, she was talking to ShaMay at 8 o'clock, people. From 7 till 8. I heard ShaMay singing to the baby at 6:30 in Tisha's room. Tisha came home at 7 and found ShaMay in Tisha's room. ShaMay never went back into the bedroom because she didn't want to be with that man. But he had troubles. He couldn't go home to his mother. So he came crying to my house, using the baby as the excuse, as he was plotting and scheming. And probably got paid for a fucking hit. Because he hired himself a damn lawyer. Didn't go to legal aid when it came time to go to court for Amari. He actually paid a lawyer to go to court. Miss Chorney told her sibling at the time that she was not feeling well and was going to lie down on the couch. Well, yeah, she wasn't well on Monday, but she did all her paperwork for school on Monday on the computer. She really wasn't feeling that well on Tuesday, but she was going to school in 12 fucking days, so she had to go take out the paperwork that she couldn't do on the computer and drop it off and fax it and daycare and social service, all of it, people. She took her passport picture. Was supposed to have people fill out the passport, but they weren't working that day, so she was going to go the next day. But Wednesday came and she was dead, so she never got to go get her passport done. This is everything that the coroner's ignoring, everything that the cops are ignoring, everything that the Fraser fucking Healthcare is ignoring. Because they all have an agenda, right? Emergency services personnel did not document finding any paraphernalia commonly associated with illicit drug use because there was nothing around, people. The only thing that I fucking found was a little baggie that had white powder in it in the middle of ShaMay's fucking bed where that fucking man was fucking sleeping. But because the cops didn't want to fucking do an investigation and were playing me off like a fucking fool, holding me out and being rude to me on the phone, saying, yeah, well, maybe we might come by and do something, I got fucking panicky and took that fucking bag to the freaking, what is it called, safe injection site over there, and I had it tested for fucking fentanyl because I wanted to know what was in it. But it wasn't fentanyl in it. It was just something else. And because they don't test for all the drugs, all they could say that there was no fentanyl in it because nothing showed fentanyl. However, it was a white baggie that more than likely had fucking cocaine in it, and the fentanyl came in separate from a different fucking source. So then I now got the cops accusing me of destroying evidence, even though it took them a fucking week to show up at my fucking doorstep and then get sarcastic and snide and rude. Actually, it was 3 weeks. ShaMay's room, by the time the fucking cops showed up, finally, right? ShaMay's room was starting to be cleared out, and then they got all rude and ignorant. Oh, why you clear out her room? You know, we need to know what's going on. Yeah, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? She's been dead for like 3 weeks now, gone, right? Life has to go on, gotta do something, right? Can't stay in fucking limbo. But hey, come look at the couch. Here's the pee stain. Here's the shit stain. What you gonna do? Oh, well, you know, nothing. We're gonna pretend it's not even there. Because the man said, you know, he laid her down. Yeah, he did lay her down. He laid her down at 10 after fucking 9. Not at fucking 10 o'clock. But you know that, because you're covering it up for fucking Fraser Health Authority right along with the fucking coroner's report. They know it, people. They fucking know it because they're taking out organs illegally. And they're selling him on the black market to the rich fucking Punjabis that are building all these fucking houses and want to live for fucking ever. And if it's not them, it's the fucking rich freaking baby boomers. Not the Uncle Johns. The Uncle Johns are just the bones. But the rich fucking baby boomers, where they're getting like $750,000 pension plans because they work for the fucking government. Those are baby boomers are the ones that are getting the organs right along with the rich fucking Punjabis who don't want to die. Buying it for their sick kids. Emergency, okay. A family member reported finding, associated with illicit drug use present at the scene. So, emergency services personnel did not document finding any paraphernalia commonly associated with illicit drug use present at the scene. A family member reported finding illicit drug paraphernalia, that baggie, right, at the scene, which was given to police as part of their investigation. A police investigation found no evidence of foul play. And then we found, buried way in the back, where ShaMay was a big, kind of chunky girl. There's no way she could have been taking, like a CD case, right, with little, a card or something, and burying it far, far behind a dresser. One was in the middle of ShaMay's bed, up by the fucking wall, that the person who found it had to literally crawl underneath the bed and reach for it, because we tore ShaMay's room apart looking for fucking fentanyl or something, looking for something, people. Because don't forget, I found out before they even told me that ShaMay had fentanyl in her system. Before they even fucking told me, I found out. So when I found out that, I wanted to know where the fuck it was. Could have killed myself, people. Oh, but then that, Tisha could have fucking came in contact with it. Paige could have came in contact. I could have came in contact with it. Anybody could have came in contact with it because they never pronounced ShaMay dead, right? But that guy, he made sure he fucking hit it real good, took it out with him when he went out for a smoke, and threw it in the fucking yard, and then later on, when nobody was looking, picked up the fucking container and walked off with it, right? Maybe if they would have cornered off the house, and Coroner come in and tape everything off and they go and do whatever, maybe we would have found it, but we didn't fucking find it. That guy had fucking time to get rid of the fucking evidence. I don't care. So what, is this going to be another video taken down? Doesn't even look like I can, it's like cleaning up. Something says don't turn off your computer, so it's changed, so hopefully it's cleaning up. Because I'm putting this up, people, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get the fucking internal files on this, okay? I am. This is a government fucking agency under the Freedom of Information Act, all right? And if I have to, I'll go to fucking court. But the thing is, if I have to go to fucking court to do it, then that means I won't be allowed to tell you because it was done through a court setting, right? So one way or another, they try and fucking silence you, right? But for now, this week, I'm going to be putting in the application under the Freedom of fucking Information Act to find out exactly what, how much fentanyl and this and that she had in her fucking system for these people to determine that it was an accident. Rubber stamping, people. So, a police investigation found no evidence of foul play. But yet, another young man that was in my house for 3 or 4 months, right, in ShaMay's bedroom with that man, because, it was his half, supposedly, brother, not true, people. It was not his half-brother, but that's how he played him off to be, was a half-brother. So I said, okay, fine, if he's got no place to stay, whatever. I told ShaMay, this is not healthy. You need to get these guys out of here. She couldn't do it. Eventually, I had to have a fucking hissy fit, and I fucking kicked him out. But then, as I kicked him out, where they ended up, within a month, a woman died there from fentanyl, right? Cops raided the fucking place. That fucking guy came back with a fucking safe. And I'm like, oh, didn't I just get rid of you? Why are you back at my fucking house? You need to leave. Oh, I got no place to go. I'm like, go to your fucking mother's house, man. You know, just go to your fucking mother's house. Get the hell out of mine. So after about 4 or 5 weeks, you know, because he didn't want to pay rent, I didn't want him here anyway. I told him to get the fuck out, or I was going to call the fucking cops on him. So finally he went to his mother's house. But that young man is dead now, people. A month and a half ago? 2 months ago? Because he ate a bunch of dope to protect his friend. Because his friend had his fucking back. Yeah, right. Had his back, my ass. Trust me, there's a lot of fucking Jamaicans out there that are fucking mad right now. And Jamaicans get fucking crazy. Investigations revealed that Miss Chorney had used illicit drugs on a recreational basis. Okay, that's pretty fucking broad sweep. Considering that we live in Surrey, and 3/4 of the people out here have experimented with drugs at some point, right? And if they're not experimenting with them, they're fucking trafficking them and importing them from fucking India and China and places like that. Heroin comes from India and fentanyl mainly comes from fucking China. But that's not recreational, that's business, so he gets a free fucking pass, $7 billion worth, right? And the cops just turn the other fucking way, because with that $7 billion come another $7 billion in body parts. Medical records from early September of 2017 documents Ms. Chorney self-reporting illicit drug use. Her last use being March 2017. Well, yeah, because she was with a boyfriend that was using drugs to try and fucking keep her. As I'm sitting up here saying, ShaMay, you need to get rid of him. Right? You need to stop and think about the consequences and your future. Right? You need to not let other people manipulate you for their own gain, whatever it may be. And if you're going to get knocked up in terms of pregnant, you can't rely on abortions to solve your problem, right? And being that you've already had 2 abortions, 2 miscarriages, why would you want to abort your 5th pregnancy? Please keep the baby. Because emotionally, you'll thank me for it. But little did I know that she would get murdered over it. So she chose to keep the baby because she had an abortion and then made the mistake of sleeping with somebody that she thought loved her, got pregnant easy, came to me and said, gee, Mom, now I know what you were going through, how easy it is to get pregnant from one time. And I'm like, well, yeah. That's why I just stopped having sex, people, because I couldn't stand it anymore. And then she just chose to keep the baby because I asked her to. So, as that man was trying to influence her to do drugs, because he was the one selling them, people. He was the one that had access to them. He was the one that was using them to manipulate her. She stopped. But you have to remember, he was living at his mother's house. So now that he can't fucking, you know, use drugs to manipulate her, right? And she had a strong support system with her family in terms of mother, sister, brother, and whatnot. You know, that fucking, it bugged him. He didn't like it. He couldn't control her. But because she admitted in her intake when she went to give birth, right? You know, she told the truth. These people like to use that against the people that they serve for their benefit, right? Because if we sit here and think about what a bad person ShaMay was for experimenting with drugs on occasion or doing drugs on occasion as they were being given to her as a form of manipulating her and mind control or whatever. You know, if these healthcare professionals, cops and coroner and all these people can convince us that somehow ShaMay was such a bad person for being in that predicament, it will take away from the $7 billion that's being funneled through this province to harvest organs and buy property and create genocide to the Canadian-born people that are being preyed upon without them really realizing what the fuck is going on until it's too late. Because the only thing that the union sector, the public union sector, especially with the senior employees that have been around for a long time and want their $200,000 pension plans, the only thing that they're fucking thinking about is how to secure those pension plans. So they make deals with the devil, people. That's what they fucking do. Heroin comes from India. India is a big fucking country. They have a huge problem with heroin, especially in Punjab. Go look it up. And everybody likes to blame the Chinese for the fentanyl. But it's not just the Chinese running the fentanyl out here, people. It's the fucking cops, because they do nothing about it. It's the provincial government, because they do nothing about it, because, it, like I said, it kicks off the welfare rolls, and it brings in the fucking organs. Miss Chorney was seen on a regular basis by physicians in the year preceding her death for non-substance use related issues. In other words, non-substance proceeding was seen on a regular basis by physicians in the year preceding her death. Proceeding, what does that mean? That means after her, like after proceeding. I can't Google it. Proceeding, what the fuck does proceeding mean? I don't have a dictionary here. Okay, she gave birth in September of 2017. And then she was going back and forth, right? Because there was times when she was getting paralyzed in her bed. So how do we know she wasn't being drugged on those days when a little visit came by? You know, when you're a drug dealer, you have access to all kinds of fucking drugs. That's why when that young man ate all those drugs at one time, it was a multiple of different drugs in little fucking baggies that killed him. It was meth, cocaine, fentanyl, fucking heroin, crack. You take 5 little baggies, or how much ever it was, and you swallow all of it and see how long you fucking last. That's how he died, people. Protecting his friend. Somebody who was supposed to have his back. When if the cops would have done their job the first time around with ShaMay, that young man would be alive today. So yeah, ShaMay had went to the doctor for that because, you know, sleep paralysis or whatever. Although I'm wondering if maybe she wasn't being drugged on those occasions. And she suffered from insomnia, which on average, most people who are highly intelligent, look it up, Albert Einstein, all those kind of fucking people, they suffered from insomnia. And as they aged and learned to accept it, they realized that they didn't need a lot of fucking sleep in order to function. ShaMay was still young and couldn't figure it out. I told her, ShaMay, just calm down. right? Read a fucking book. Get off the freaking internet. Stop using Facebook, you know? Stop arguing so much. Just go get yourself a fucking novel and go read a book and you'll fall asleep, you know? Eat some lettuce or, you know, have a nice cup of cocoa or something like that with some milk. But she didn't want to listen to me, right? You know, she wanted to argue with, you know, or whatever young people do. But I do believe that she was, what do you call it? Drugged. But you see, they wouldn't give me her hair. Only a few strands, not enough to really test anything, people. Right? Because they fucking knew what they were doing. Right? Hiding the evidence. So anyway, I was outside working. I've been outside working. But I'm going to do this first. I don't care how long it takes. And then she had some, here's something kind of morbid. She had, it's not morbid, but she had, in her vagina area, big lips, right? And it bothered her, and she was it really bothered her, so she was making plans to go to surgery to have some of it, removed or whatever. So she was going to go see the doctor. She was seeing the doctor about that as well. And, so when they took her organs, I'm sure they took that, right? Because there's a lot of gay people out here that are going in for, like, what do you call that surgery? You know, they're changing their body parts, right? I don't know why I'm on Windows 7 is coming to an end. Okay, Windows 7 is coming to an end. Anyway, you know, if they're going to go as far as embalmer and do all that stuff, I'm sure they got down in that area and took out a whole bunch of fucking skin from down there so that when they, you know, build in these artificial vaginas for men that want to be women, you know, they had the body parts to do it, right? That's why they say non-substance. She didn't go to the doctor like Sierra goes to the doctor, right? She went to the doctor for other things. Birth control, you know, sleeping pills because she couldn't deal with her insomnia, although she didn't take them regularly, and, you know, maybe an infection, and also, too, to book surgery for another thing. And you know what? Before I go too fucking far with this, because she had those 2 abortions, right? I'm wondering if that's maybe one reason why she couldn't give birth to Amari. Maybe her uterus had been tilted, because they tilted mine when I gave birth to Tisha. They did something to me when I gave birth to Tisha, people. And, you know, they gave ShaMay 2 abortions, and I wouldn't be surprised with them putting in those things into the cervix and opening up and doing whatever the fuck they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't injure my daughter, and that's why she couldn't give birth naturally to my grandson, Amari, who came out with symptoms of brain damage the minute they put him on the fucking table after they took him out of her womb. And then they played it like they didn't notice it. And what they did notice, they ignored. So Miss Chorney was seen on a regular basis by physicians in the year preceding her death for non-substance use related issues. Post-mortem toxicology examination. An autopsy examination. Now you have to remember, they autopsy, supposedly, people, a body that was not embalmed, but it was, people. Dead bodies turn black and they smell. The only way they can prevent a rotting body from doing those 2 things is to embalm them. And they cannot slow down that process, right? So the body starts to blister. I have visualization proof of that. Under her nose, you can see it black. In her mouth, you can see it black. An autopsy examination was performed which revealed the anatomical cause of death as anoxic encephalopathy, and multisystem organ failure. There was no evidence of significant physical injury. Well, yeah, because all you have to do is just sneak up from somebody and go like that and just hold them. You don't have to hit him on the head. You don't have to strangle them. You don't have to do any of that. You just need to sneak up fucking behind them, go and stand in front of them, look them straight in the eye, and then go like this into the eye. And once it's in the eye, that's it. It's done. You're done. You're fucking done. Or you could put it in their drink and come by and say, would you like a cup of tea? Would you like some juice? Or you could put it in their food and say, here, eat this. It will make you feel better. I know you're not feeling that well. Come on, eat, right? Or you can put it in a needle and just prick it gently. You don't even have to go into it, people. You just have to prick it. And if it's the right amount of fentanyl, you're toast. Everything the coroner and the police and the Fraser Health Authority staff like to ignore. But there's huge warnings all over the internet. Be careful when you come into contact with fentanyl because it can kill you instantly. But because ShaMay was a low dose, for some reason, that makes it an accident. Because there were no bruises on her body. They don't care about her mind. They don't care what she was going through, right? They don't care how she was being stalked. They don't care how she was being threatened, right? They don't care about any of that. Because that's not the agenda. The agenda was she was 22 years old, just had a baby, had no history of going to the doctor for substance abuse, right? She was the perfect candidate for fucking organ harvesting and body tissues, including her vagina. Probably took her eggs too. For cloning purposes. I wouldn't put it past them, people. These people are corrupt. There was no evidence of significant physical injury or acute or ongoing infectious disease process, and no pulmonary thromboembolism. Toxicology testing detected fentanyl and morphine within a therapeutic range and use of cocaine. Now, they don't give me the actual numbers. I asked her to give me the actual numbers. But, of course, they're not doing that because, they want to make it hard for you, right? These results are... And that's what that's what the autopsy was done. It was done on her blood. They're not telling you that here, though. Because I said, well, where did you get this therapeutic range number in terms of what did you test? Because her body was putrid. It was ready to explode. They couldn't, and even the cops said, after they fucking were done doing whatever they were doing, he said, oh, don't worry. They have all her blood samples and stuff. That's, they'll do an investigation, like, in terms of the, what is it called? The coroner, like the autopsy person, right? The pathologist, they're going to test her blood that she came in with. But they didn't cut her open. They didn't look at her organs. There was no organs to look at. They were already taken out. They would have been liquefied by day 8, people, on their own, if she hadn't been embalmed. And if they embalm them, they either take them out or they liquefy them. I am going to do a video with these pictures that I have, and I'm going to do it on my computer with the camera facing the fucking computer, and I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to prove to you that my daughter fucking died in the house, and these guys tried to cover it up, and they just basically let her fucking body rot on the machines, and I can prove it. These results are representative of drug concentrations at the time of collection, which was 17:53 hours on April 11th, 2017. So she went to the hospital, well, at 0956 hours, which is 10 o'clock in the morning, right? 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when Wolf was called. And then by 17:53 on that same day, that's when they collected this blood. The coroner admitted that they didn't use the urine because there was none. Because it was on the fucking couch, people. Because I asked her, I said, well, where did you get this information from? Oh, it was from her blood. I said, oh, okay. How do we know it was ShaMay's blood? Did you do a DNA test on it? She couldn't answer it. Because I don't believe it was ShaMay's blood. I don't. So, I'm looking for the time here. Oh, God. It would be at about 5:53 p.m. based on military time. So she went in at 10:30 and they got the blood out of her, supposedly, and that's what they tested at 5:53. But they won't give me the actual documents around that. And I doubt they did a DNA on that fucking sample that had been sitting in the hospital for over a month in cold storage when they finally got around to doing it. Unless, of course, this is what they used when they first brought her in and didn't fucking test it the second time around because it had already been established on that day, April 11th at 7:53, which is 5:53 p.m., that ShaMay had fentanyl in her system. And may have been higher at the time of injury. Oh, it may have been higher. What were they doing for like 7 hours, people? Well, I'll tell you, by the time Tisha left at 6 o'clock, they kicked out Tisha and they kicked out that man at around 6 o'clock. And I showed up at 9. ShaMay had already been looked embalmed. She had little pokes all over her arms because, again, that's what they do. And it was leaking. They went into the jugular, big-ass Band-Aid on it. It was leaking all over the place. Right? They tried to give some stupid song and dance that they couldn't get her blood because it turned to water, when in fact they had embalmed her. And because it only takes like an hour or so, but they must have been having problems with it because it was probably students that were doing it. You know, kill two birds with one stone, take out the fucking organs and educate the fucking students, right? And so by the time I showed up, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, she looked embalmed. And when Tisha showed up the next day, and when everybody else showed up the next fucking day, that's what everybody else was saying. I just happened to be the first one to say it. I've been around dead bodies that have been embalmed, people. I know what embalmed bodies look like. And ShaMay was embalmed. So, they kicked Tisha out at 6 o'clock. And by 9 o'clock, she was embalmed. But they're basing their blood test on the one sample that they got out of her, apparently, 7 hours after she was taken to the fucking hospital? What were they doing for 7 fucking hours? I'd like to know. Well, they were getting the surgery room ready. That's what they were doing, people. And may have been higher at the time of injury. BCEHS paramedics and emergency room staff did not administer any opiate or opiate prior to samples being collected. No, but they gave her something else, ephedrine or whatever the hell it's called. It wasn't the Narcan that started her heart. They Narcaned her 4 times. That didn't work, because that's what the paramedic said to me as they were carrying her out the fucking door in a hammock. It was an effort, you know, it was an adrenaline thing. It was something else. Did not administer any opiate or opiate prior to samples being collected. Fentanyl is a synthetic opiate. Morphine is an opiate. Both cause depressant effects on the central nervous system. Exactly. They're the perfect murder weapon. They don't make noise and they don't leave a trail of blood behind, people. And the cops know it. And so does every other public union sector that is corrupt. The combination of fentanyl and morphine can cause further respiratory depression. Cocaine is a stimulant that may precipitate a sudden cardiac dysrhythmia. The effects of these substances in isolation. A whole house full of fucking people just was up all night looking after a baby, goes to her sister room, right? Says goodbye to her brother as he goes to work, waits for the sister, chats with the sister for a whole fucking hour, and ShaMay is doing drugs all by herself with not a fucking single soul fucking noticing anything. How does that make sense? Because there is no sense around it. They like to twist things around, people. They concoct their own stories. They rewrite history. They victimize the victim time after time, or when combined, are unpredictable and may cause death. Miss Chorney had not been prescribed morphine. Well, no, because she didn't need it, and she wouldn't have wanted it. Even in her medical files, when they were at the hospital after they gave her the C-section, they were telling her to use their drugs, as she was saying, no, I don't want to, but they were saying, yes, do it. Conclusion, I find that Miss ShaMay Geraldine Chorney died in Surrey on April 16th, 2018. That is a bunch of fucking hogwash. Why? Because Dr. Gould sat up there and looked at some fake fucking pictures and pronounced ShaMay dead with his Lucy's flying around in the fucking halls? Or should I say Eleanor's? Of anoxic something, that whatever it is, and multisystem organ failure following cardiac arrest due to or as a consequence of mixed drug toxicity, fentanyl, morphine, cocaine. I classify this death as an accident and make no recommendations. Well, yeah, because they want to keep the organ train running. They want to keep banking the money in the bank by getting rid of all the low-life trash in the province of British Columbia, Canada, so that rich immigrants can come in here and build house after house after house after house, screaming and crying racism and how bad things are for them. Because at the end of the day, the person who fucking signed this thing wants to make sure that they have a pension plan when it comes time for them to retire. By any means necessary, people.